And we're here. And welcome back to the channel. I'm going to get straight into this because this is about a film that I absolutely love. And I am lucky enough to be joined by the director of that said film, Street Trash 2024, Ryan Kruger. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cool, man. Pleasure.
Oh man, it's awesome. It's always easier to talk about a film that you love, and I guess that I could have kept that as a spoiler, but I really did enjoy it, and for so many reasons. But much like your films, I'm probably gonna, jump around a lot because it's like energy and fun and color and goo. So if I'm all right, can I just throw lots of questions at you and see what you've got to say?
Yeah, sure.
Almost like it's an interview. But so my first question really is that from looking through your history of filmmaking, there seems to be a real love and link to the sort of VHS era of the 80s. I noticed something you were talking about, Flight of the Navigator, in another interview, and I was just like, oh man, I'm going to get on with this guy because I've literally got my Flight of the Navigator VHS here. What is it about that sort of getting those references and those ideas into your work? What resonated with you about that?
I think it's just it's one of those where at the age that I am now, and I'm sure you're probably roughly the same age as me. It's all about growing up, as a kid in the 80s and the early 90s, and all those all those movies, going to the video shop. It was such a thing going to the video shop, was looking at those front covers, and it's just a very special time, I think, with movies. And you got to understand, when you were watching these movies in the 80s, there was also nothing like it before that. The 80s was a very certain time, and I think we've lost a lot of cool stuff over the years in cinema that it's just not the same, where there's that nice balance of prosthetics and visual effects, and now it's like the other way around. But yeah, it's just that feeling of, as a kid growing up and having that feeling, going to the cinema or renting that video and watching it, and films like Flight of the Navigator, and whether it's Ghostbusters or any of these 80s horror films like The Thing or Fright Night, or there's just so many fucking great films from the 80s that it makes me feel like how did it even have a childhood when I just watched so much of these?
Of true.
These how did we have time to play out and do all this stuff? But I think 80s cinema is just a special time in movie making.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it's just a case of wanting to recapture my youth, but I often think about it, and I think that nostalgia is a really strong pull. But also, what I like about it is it can be a really creative thing as well. I think if we're just kind of like, oh, the good old days, but putting a new spin on things and enjoying it.
Yeah, it's just dropping those Easter eggs and little hints here and there, Easter eggs. It's like if you know the films like I know the films, and I'm sure there's lots of other people grew up with all those films, then you'll get it. You'll get those little references. And some people love more films than other films and know fucking everything about them. And here and there's just those little references in there. And that's, again, it's recreating the childhood, having those things, and fans of certain movies. And some people get it, and then some people might just go over the head,
Yeah, and I was thinking that, obviously, probably more in the US than it was for myself and yourself in the UK. MTV was like a big thing of, a mix of movies, music videos obviously took off and became a massive thing. If you were to kind of go back then and think, what's a good way of getting into making those awesome films? A lot of those people made music videos and were involved in MTV. And you've kind of followed that sort of trajectory as well. All those music videos that you've made in South Africa and the awards and things like that. Do you think that is possible for people to do now in the same way, because maybe music videos aren't as say, for example, MTV isn't full of music videos anymore.
I was actually speaking about this the other day, and you know, when I started doing the music videos, it was still really popular and stuff. You know, in South Africa and overseas, it was obviously still a big thing, and now it's not. It's most again. I think it's the internet, and I think it's all these. It doesn't matter if you're not on a big record label anymore, and there's all these things, and it's about views, and if you're people might not be giving you people aren't given the budgets like they used to, and even when I was making them, the budgets were up and down. But now it's like music videos aren't really a thing. Every now and then you get the really famous artists, whether it's like Beyonce or whoever or whatever rapper, doing a little video every now and then, but it's not what it was. It hasn't got all those eyes as much on it as it was before. Like commercially, I would say commercially, it hasn't got all those eyes on it like before. Yes, obviously loads of people are going to watch it on YouTube. Obviously, it's going to still get millions of views, but it's not like it was with loads of bands doing loads of videos. It's just not there. So I got into music videos because I thought it was the best way to do narrative storytelling or something very creative that I didn't need a sound guy for or mastering, because they already had the track, they already had it mastered. It already had an audience, the band. So I thought, it was a cool thing to make a music video. It's already got an audience, and it can get played on TV and so on. And otherwise, you're making a short film that's on TV at 4 a.m. when nobody's actually watching. So it was just like a cool step to do narrative storytelling within a music video or something very arty. But I think times are changing. It's like in America now. America's fucked in so many ways with all these big budget movies that aren't making as much money, nowhere near. And that saying like "you'll never work in this town again." I don't think that exists anymore, because it's not just the big studios. There's so many different studios and different companies making content for all these online platforms. It's flooded. There's too much content, because I always say, like, I think it was early 2000s, just after like 98 or something like that. I saw like majority of stuff. Like when I was by 98, I saw like a hell of a lot of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, all those films. And then I think as soon as it got to like mid 2000s, it was impossible to watch like majority of stuff. It's just, and even in the past 5 years, it's just crazy. Like it's impossible
to keep up with it. You get your magazine, you tick off what you wanted to watch, and you kind of go, oh, I must make a note of that, I'll go and see that. But like it is impossible to do. And that's probably why I don't subscribe to that idea of, oh, you couldn't make this anymore, and you can't make this, and you can't make it. You can. It's just that not necessarily nobody might watch it. Like, I think you're totally right along that. There's just so much that you have to filter it out, don't you? Otherwise, if you're a completist, you get frustrated. Like when, I'm sure you're the same as me, when there was like a series of something you liked, you had to watch all of it and then get the DVD or the VHS or whatever and have that. Yeah. But if there's like 8 spin-offs, then you're going to struggle to keep up with that.
Yeah. But even now, like content, there's more shit stuff than ever, So I end up rewatching old stuff where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch this. I've seen it a million times. I know it's going to be good. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just going to watch it again. Because the amount of times I'm on Netflix or whatever, and I'm watching something, and I'm 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I turn it off, and then I watch something else. I'm like, oh, this is shit as well, and turn it off. So, it's rare to get. Obviously there is fucking good films and there is fucking good series, but there's few and far between. There's more shit than ever that's on platforms now. Like it's crazy how much, and I don't even know how they get green lit, like a lot of these productions. But I think right now what's happening with the industry, I think it's almost going back to like the 90s of like Sundance and having all these, filmmakers making these really independent films and getting out there. I think there's a little wave now, even with all this movies like Street Trash and and having these like nostalgia, like 80s gore films and stuff like that. I think there's like a wave of it all coming back. And, you know, even looking at The Substance and stuff like that, I think it's coming back in a weird, in a weird way. Because again, I think people just want to see different stuff and not the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Even
so I think there's a new wave there of this like 80s style of like prosthetics and stuff like that, and just all this, you know, in-camera stuff, and it's cool, and it's great to be a part of that wave, you know.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. I think that's like something that certainly makes me just switch on and pay attention, is when I see something and it's gooey and bright and visually arresting, rather than, you know, like you say, watching some you know, a drone shot of a forest and you know, the same sort of things over and over again that are using the same technology. It's so there's more artistry to it, isn't there? When you can feel that you could touch it. And that's why one of my favorite films of all time is like Terrorvision. I just love Terrorvision. It's just such and again, that comes from just great creativity and silliness and fun, but you couldn't recreate it. You couldn't just like go and do that on a computer. It has to be done the way that it's done. And exactly. I guess having your kind of apprenticeship doing those videos and things like that. I know you did a lot of short film. It's quite hard for people, from people I've spoken to, isn't it, to kind of get their short films seen. But I noticed you won the Alan Clark Award in Liverpool, and I started thinking about, like, I think Clive Barker won the same one, and he had all that crew of people that he worked in theatre with, and that was his kind of little crew of people that he brought up with him. It must be really difficult to get eyes on those short films. So I can kind of understand where you're coming from with the music videos. Was that an important part of your sort of apprenticeship trial and error part of your career, or were you just doing it because you had other ideas that you wanted to get on film?
What, within the music videos?
Well, I'm just wondering which of those was the most kind of beneficial to your career. Well, was it much harder getting people to look at short films than it was looking at the music videos?
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, and that's why I said, you know, you can make a short film, but then it's literally, you know, if you get it on TV, it's on so early in the morning or so late at night that nobody's actually watching it. That's, you know, that was the big case years ago. And then, you know, now it's like you upload to YouTube or you upload to Vimeo and people can check it, and then you can send it to film festivals. And the thing is now, like, just think about it. You know, when the 5D camera just came out, and this was, you know, I was already doing stuff way before this, but when the 5D camera came out, that was like a big thing for filmmakers, because for the first time in a long time, everybody could afford a 5D. Most people could get a 5D camera or borrow a 5D camera, and they could shoot a movie, you know, and it was just easier to do. So it was, so when the 5D came out, there was hundreds and thousands of filmmakers making loads of short films all of a sudden. But to get your work out there, the music video thing for me was just, it was automatic audience already. So whether, you know, if it's a short film, you're trying to find an audience, you're trying to get people to watch it. But even now with like Film Freeway and stuff like that, where you can send your film off to film festivals, and you know, the true thing is, you know, there's about, you know, there's the 10 major festivals around the world that most normal people couldn't even name 4 of them. But there's, you know, even with those 10 main film festivals, you know, you've got another 15 to 20 film festivals that are still huge and still really big and still hold a massive audience. But then there's the other side of like Film Freeway and, you know, and all these festivals where there's just thousands of film festivals, where it might be in the back of a pub in Liverpool, or it might be in this like random little hall in Manchester or wherever. And the thing is, it doesn't really, obviously it's great if you get into a big one and this and this and this, and if you don't, you know, you send it to others. But obviously as a filmmaker, you want some people, you want anybody to watch your film and not sit there. So even, whether you don't hit those big festivals, but you get it into, like 60 average festivals, or not amazing festivals, but there's still people, at all those festivals that will watch it. So at the end of the day, you want people to watch your work. And I always find it funny because, there's people that don't know about film, and that, which is like your family and other friends that's not in the film industry. And then when filmmakers, I always find it funny when filmmakers post, they'll post on Facebook and they'll say like, just got into New York Film Shorts Festival or something like this. And then, and they never tag the festival because it's like a really shit festival or something like that. It'll be some like random name, and it'll be, and it's because it's in America. People go, "Oh, fucking hell, you're doing good."
I mean,
really, it's just.
I get what you mean. I understand.
Festival.
Well, this is it. I sent in a couple of years ago. I sent into some film festivals on Film Freeway some of my scripts just to kind of get some feedback on them and kind of take some of that feedback on the chin and see how because I hadn't written anything for about 20 years. So I was like, right, I want to see how it how it is. And I sent it off to all the free ones. I was like, I'm not going to pay. So I literally sent it all around the world.
Fine. At the end of the day, you want people. I just find it funny how some directors put it out there, but they won't tag the film festival because if they did, you'll click on it and it'll say 10 followers for this festival.
No, I think I totally get what you're saying.
The bottom line is, if you're gonna make something or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like you just got to get it out, and then you'll end up getting better, and you'll be able to get into bigger, better festivals. And that's the thing. You got to start somewhere.
That's interesting because obviously I'm just like amateur, want to get a bit of feedback. But then obviously there are those people who are, they want to make sure that it's got a bit of gravitas to it and a bit of something there to get the right, the right eyes on it, and then hopefully it kind of takes off around the world. And I guess that's one of the benefits of being able to send things in via the internet, and it's something that wasn't happening in the 80s. And
exactly. I mean,
you had to know those individuals.
That VHS to all these, to all these different places around the world. It must have been nuts.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the hopefully that's one of the things that I can kind of look at as a positive, that like even just for the cast of your films and the locations of your films, because I was thinking like, where did I first hear or see South African voices and locations and things like that? And obviously a lot of people probably go straight to District 9 and go, in terms of hearing the accents, and people kind of really were blown away by it. I loved that film. I saw a South African exhibit in the museum in London, and it was really interesting and eye-opening. It was like about South African art, and there was a one part of it that blew me away, and I won't go on too much about it, but there was a guy who used to appear in every TV show or quiz show or soap opera, and he'd just walk into the background of these shows. The creators knew he was doing it, and he'd just walk in, and nobody'd ever comment on him or say anything about him, and he'd sometimes walk right up to the camera and then walk away. And they put all this. This was insane. Well, it was just by chance that I walked into this exhibit, and I was like, and obviously it was all a comment on kind of the unseen cultures and unseen people, and not having a voice. And I dug into it, and I was desperately trying to find, because I wanted to talk to you about it. I was desperately trying to find who it was. I just can't find who it was. But I just thought that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because street trash ties straight into that sort of that's the heart of it for me, or it was when I watched it, was that kind of feeling of the group of people who just nobody was listening to. Nobody saw them. So I just thought, is that something that's at the heart of films in South Africa?
I think, you see, I think I think South Africa is still so fresh and still so new to the rest of the world. I'd say like we're like 20 steps, behind like Australia, probably more. Right. But I mean, just with people starting to get to know South Africa a little bit more, because I think most people will look at District 9 or Chappie or Deanne Foot, the band, or Clint Eastwood's movie with Matt Damon about the rugby and Nelson Mandela. So there's those certain things that people know because of those films or because of the band or whatever. But I think it's still really fresh, and I think there's still like lots of cool things that, like, I had the choice to shoot in America, but I was like, you know what, I want to shoot it in South Africa. My connections are here. If I need I'm a phone call away from some help that I know I can get, and I'd rather make something with South African characters than American characters, just different, and just put a little bit of a different spin on it, at least.
Oh, the humor for me as well. And I know it's probably a strange thing to say, but there's a kind of delivery that is in this film that makes it uniquely South African. The only thing which is really strange, because the only thing I could think of that kind of made me laugh in the same way through the delivery alone is something like Flight of the Conchords over in New Zealand. It's that kind of, I don't know what it is. It's a kind of dryness, I suppose, but also an innocence.
It's a mixture of, I think it's a mixture of definitely, obviously, English humor from me, and then obviously the South African humor. So I think it's a mixture of those things together.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that side of it, and I think that's what I know I've said to you when you've been gracious enough to answer questions and have a chat with me online before we filmed, and it was just one of the things that got me about that. I think the humor, it always adds to the heart of the film. Like, there's a group of people in this film, and I actually cared about them, which is not to be undersold, because how many films do we watch where we don't even remember any of the characters?
Exactly. And it was super important to have that. It was super important to have that strong story, but also have characters that you actually give a shit about and that you care for. So when something does happen to anybody, like, you feel it and you're like, oh no, like, you don't want this person to die, and you care for them. And as soon as you have that, it changes everything watching a movie.
Totally.
I think, even with Friar Barry, there's a lot of heart with Friar Barry. Yes, it's a crazy, wacky film, but there's still like a lot of heart to it. And I think this is exactly the same.
Yeah, like you say, when somebody dies or something bad happens in a film, if you're not invested in that person, they're just fodder. And sometimes that's great. Like, sometimes that's, depending on the type of film it is. But for me, what this had was the best parts of the gooiness and the blowing up and the neon and day glow stuff of the 80s street trash.
Yeah.
But I love this. I love this kind of I think, do you think that'll surprise people, that the characters that they'll like in it, from watching, if they watched 30 seconds of it, of the goo or something, they might be surprised that they actually like the characters?
Yeah. Well, that's, when they first approached me to do the film, straight away, I wanted to make it more of a sequel than a remake. I was like, as a fan of the original film, I would rather do a loose sequel so it's a standalone film for a new audience, but for fans and people like me, they'll watch it. We even mention, the original film in this film. So, it's just a loose sequel. And I think that will help, again, with the original crowd, because sometimes when people hear like a remake, they're like, oh fuck, why are they fucking touching that, why are they doing that? And for me, it was very important, like I said, to have a different story and just update it more, and complete different story and characters, have that strong narrative, and just those characters. It was important just to have those characters to go on that journey. So it is like, I think the biggest thing is looking at the DNA of what street trash is. And for me, street trash is about homeless people. So I needed to do about homeless people, is that we have the different colors and fluorescent goo and stuff like that. That's very important. That's probably the biggest thing. And then at the same time, I wanted to make it my own thing. The last thing I wanted to do was to copy the original. Obviously I had nods to the original and stuff like that out of respect for the original, but at the same time, I want to do my stuff and what I want to do. And
oh man,
you know,
yeah, the last thing you
that
want to do is do a shot for shot remake of Psycho or something, you know, like
yeah, exactly.
I remember watching that when I suppose that's like the tail end of video shops or something like that, isn't it really? And I was just like, so the guy from Swingers is going to be Norman Bates in a shot for shot color remake of Psycho. And I was just like, and I know Gus Van Sant can make good films. So what's going on? What's happening?
You know what? I always forget about that film. I always forget about that film, and I remember it. Was it shot for shot the whole film, or was it shot for shot for the scene in the shower? The whole film.
The whole thing. Yeah, it was supposed to be like and obviously. They're probably reining in Vince Vaughn as well, because he couldn't be any more different as an actor than Anthony Perkins.
No, he's an underrated actor, man. He's an underrated actor. Yeah. He's done. You know, I love him doing comedy, and he's been great. You know, when you watch him in like
Across Concrete
and those films, he's great. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, is it Dragged Across Concrete, or is it Cell Block? Brawl in Cell Block. There's one of those.
Yeah, Brawl in Cell Block. Whatever number.
Yeah, that was good, but it was just such a different person to have in the slot, wasn't it? But I think, to go back to Street Trash, I think that's what, you know, when I started watching it, I was like, okay, right. So this straight away there was different elements to the original. There was a humor. Sean Cameron, Michael, he added that. That humor, but also the way he kind of embraces the other people around him, I think is a really lovely choice that you've all made together. That instantly you've got this gang of people and there's love between them. They're like a family that chose each other.
Yeah. What was nice is, like, Sean Cameron Michael is a brilliant actor. He's a very, very good friend, but he's a brilliant actor. He's worked with so many big people in the industry from overseas, but shot here, and he's been in LA as well, shooting stuff. But yeah, he's such a great actor, such a nice guy. And him and the other character, Chef Joe Vaz, they've also what was great about them, they've also been friends for years. So it was already nice that there's these two people in real life that actually knew each other for a very long time, and they did like musicals together, like back in the day and stuff like that. So it was actually cool that both of them were, you know, together in this movie.
I can see that. Yeah, I can. The physicality between them, I can almost see that, a bit of a musical. Yeah, the way they were moving around each other. Yeah, I can see.
And Sean's just got so much. Sean's got so much range, and you know that it got to when we were shooting, and I realized there was the one scene with Alex, and we needed to see more from Alex. So, you know, I remember like writing the one night, and then the next day shooting was that scene when it was both of them together, you know, sitting outside when she was going to leave, and it's that whole emotional scene. But it was so good having that scene, and you know, and the actress Donna and Sean, they just, you know, just doing that scene and bringing the tears and stuff, and you know, again, there's a bit of heart there, and it's, again, you know, Sean's character Ronald, he's like the dad of, you know, of this gang and keeping everybody together, and then Chef is like the mother who cooks and everything and also keeps everybody fed. But they're all a bunch of rejects, you know. They're all a bunch of rejects. They're all like drug addicts and stuff, but they're all the good guys. And and they're all like, you know, they're all so different, each and every one of them, but they're all working together, you know.
It'd almost be more believable these days with the way films are now for every single one of those characters to have a sort of nefarious agenda. What I found that was so sweet about it was that I was like, oh, please don't let this person be a dick. Like, please don't let this person turn on everyone, because you see that in every single film. You know, somebody is there's always a hidden agenda, and it was like a core group of people. You know, even you go back to films like The Dirty Dozen and stuff, they were all criminals, but we loved them all, and we were really upset. We were really upset when anything happened to any of them, even though we knew what crimes they'd done, and we.
No, exactly. Actually, that's a good reference. Thinking about it now, they were all fucking bad guys, but you were all reaching for them the whole time.
Yeah, and you don't. It's almost like we have to say in a film now, Don't trust this person. You know, they're this, they're that, and it's like, well, I loved spending time with this group, and I think Alex is an interesting character because you can sometimes, you know, put the female character in it, and the whole point of them being there is just for them to be in jeopardy, and that, you know, there's so much more to her being in that group, and I think it's very nice how she gets accepted into the group. I'm trying not to give any spoilers,
Yeah.
but I love the fact that you've got goo and body parts flying, and then you've got this lovely group of, like you say, rejects who are, you know, they're all looking out for each other, and it's really cool.
But yeah, I think
not
that's
more of a question, more of a comment.
I think that's what the film with the film is, that yes, it's like a melt movie and there's gore and there's, you know, all those in-camera prosthetics what everybody wants to see. But, you know, when a lot of people try and make these type of films or these horror type of films these days in this independent world, is that, you know, either the story sucks or the acting sucks badly, or it's just the only thing good about it is the prosthetics or whatever. And that's why with this, you know, I could have just not done any character work or anything, or, you know, just made a straight up just gore film, which I would never do anyway. But it's, you know, yeah, as a director and writer, you know, you have to, you know, this film is not just a gore film. Yes, it's a gore film, and yes, there's lots of prosthetics, and there's lots of goo and explosions and stuff like that. But it has heart, and it has these characters that you go on this journey with. And I just think it's so important, and it is good acting and stuff like that. And I think that's the thing that's lacking a lot sometimes in these independent genre films, where, you know, it's, again, it's either a shit story or shit acting or badly written, and then there's one thing running for it, and it's either the prosthetics or something, or there's like one good actor in it or something. And I think with this film, you know, Sean Cameron Michael and Gary Green and Joe Vaz and, you know, all the actors, they did, you know, a terrific job, and they're all very different, and you care for like all of them, which is great, you know.
Oh yeah, like we're on board with that group very quickly. I think because of the Ronald character, we're almost in the gang straight away. We trust in him. Even though I think when we first meet him, you're just like, oh, I'm not sure what there's a big question there. But it's a great ensemble. And I guess I was going to ask as well, like, has anything changed in terms of your philosophy or the way you do things between Fried Barry and Street Trash? Like, what have you kind of taken from that to this, or completely thrown away and changed, or kept? Like, what's been the journey between those two films? Because I remember watching Fried Barry and being like, this is a wild ride. This looks amazing as well.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I wouldn't say not much really or anything. The only difference for me, you know, the way I made this film compared to Fried Barry was I actually had a budget for this fucking movie. so it's just, and instead of, like, you know, I shot Fried Barry 28 days over a year and a half. That's how I shot Fried Barry. And obviously with Street Trash, I had a budget. So I shot like 4.5, 5 weeks straight. And that's the only difference. And the thing was that we were actually fucking paying people, and we actually had a budget to do things, to do those prosthetics. And at the same time, even though the budget we had, it was a decent budget, but it was still a budget that I stretched to do even bigger and better stuff with. And I think that's just the thing that I'll probably always do, just to try and push it and make a bigger and better film, which I think everybody should strive for. So yeah, it's I think, you know, we really had to stretch the budget, and you know, obviously I wanted everything that I wanted. So, you know, there's certain sacrifices that you have to make or whatever to get exactly what you want. But I think that's the only difference. I think it's just budget. You know, I'm still writing, I'm still coming up with the same, like, you know, style and stuff that I want to do, and I think it comes across in this film that, you can tell that I directed Fried Barry or wrote Fried Barry. I think you can tell. I think Street Trash is just a little bit more commercial, in a sense of Fried Barry is a little bit darker and a little bit more experimental.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm just going to pause for 1 second because I've got a question following up on that, but I don't want the dog to bark. I can feel her revving up.
Okay, no worries.
I'm just going to pause. And we're back from dog escaping fun. So I was going to ask you about about Gary Green. It must be really cool because he's been in those short films with you. It's not a spoiler to say he's in this film. And he's 2-bit in the film. Fried Barry as well. To have that journey together, has he ever said anything to you like, "Wow, we've done all this, we've made all these films together, and look where we are now"?
Yeah, I think. Listen, Gary's he's such a special guy. he's a special character, without a doubt. He's very offbeat and he is a bit weird, but he's in the nice way. But I think I think as time went on, we've spoken. In South Africa, I mean, what, Fried Barry was I think it's a very unique film, and I think that's why it did super well. But even just for South African cinema, it was like the first of its kind, because we don't make films like that. And it's the same with Street Trash. We don't make films like this here. So it's, again, even that's the first of its kind. But yeah, working with Gary, I think, over time, here and there we do speak about it, like, shit, isn't it crazy that, we've done this, and then now we're about to do the second one, and then before we know it, it's like we finished it and it's in post and it's nearly coming out. And then it's, the journey's still very exciting still for Street Trash, because, from Jan, February, March, then it starts going everywhere else. So, you know what I mean? There's still a nice journey ahead, or still already, for Street Trash. And I think I gained like so many fans, and so many, like hundreds of people reached out to me for Fried Barry. It was crazy. It was so crazy. And now with all those fans, and then new fans that haven't seen Fried Barry are going and starting to visit Fried Barry. And then the other fans that were like, "Oh, it's so cool that Gary Green's in this movie." And so, yeah, it's just been a fun thing to have, these fans, and knowing, like, me and Gary are like, we work so very, very closely to. I think I'm just really good at like casting Gary and picking the right roles for him. And I might have to jump through like a lot of hoops to get exactly what I want, but it's I have the patience for it with him, and I think that's cool. So we have a good like working relationship.
So that's really good as well, like you say about people getting to see, because the Street Trash, I'm not sure how it works in terms of different territories and around the world and things like that, but I noticed this film being linked to Shudder and being on Shudder. I'm not sure in which territories and which areas first and how it works. I don't quite know how it is, because sometimes I'll see things and my friend in America will say, "Oh, it's on Shudder," and I'll look and it's not there in the UK.
But it's Screambox. It's on Screambox.
Screambox, right.
Yeah, it hit Screambox this. You see, it's already on Amazon in the States, and Apple TV and Fandango, and it hit Screambox probably in the next few days, I think.
Right, got you. Yeah. So, like, I guess the more it kind of lands on these streaming services, people will go back and watch Fried Barry and kind of and also enjoy this in a kind of the full picture of your career. They'll maybe kind of attach themselves to you, because that's what I like, is when you have a director and you follow their career. Like what I remember really getting into Kevin Smith, and that really got my writing, really inspired me with my writing. I was like, oh, this is just a guy who worked in in a convenience store and just wrote. And I was like, well, I just write and write. And do you find that people who love their kind of, the head in a lot of films or the first Street Trash and things like that are now saying, oh, I'm a Ryan Kruger fan,
Yeah. It has, and I must admit, like I said, with Fried Barry, there was so many, like I just gained so many fans from that movie. It was insane how many people reached out, and now already again, the amount of people that's reached out for this is also like crazy. And like as I said, new fans that haven't seen Fried Barry, and then fans that are just so happy that they're like, oh, this is your second film, and oh, I love Fried Barry, and it's so cool to see Gary Green pop up in the movie, all these things. Yeah. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey, and it's as a filmmaker, it's great to know, I guess, that I'm doing something right, or people are liking my shit.
Yeah.
So
I was surprised. Awesome. That not surprised, but sometimes you think certain publications don't necessarily get things in the same way. But I thought the Variety review of Street Trash sort of understood the heart and the melting side of things as well. Like that was a really, like for me, that was a very well put together review. Like with they didn't just go into it and be like, oh, it's this. So that must be nice when you do get a review that. Well, I certainly felt it got what you were trying to do.
Yeah. My thing is, there's actually a B-side poster to this movie, and I'm big on marketing and stuff like that. And yes, it is a cool picture poster that we have, but there's a B-side poster, and the thing is, I think, yes, there's all the people on the genre scene and love gore will love that front cover and be like, oh, cool, I'm watching this. And there's people that know what street trash is, and there's people that have no fucking idea what street trash is, a newer audience. But the thing is, I think there's a lot of people that might not watch the film because of the poster. Outside the genre scene and stuff. But then when they see the B-side poster, I think there's more chance of people outside those circles to go, and what, I'll watch this film. This looks interesting. And I think it's so important to have like the right trailer or to have the right poster. So yeah, again, it's like, because you want people to watch the movie at the end of the day. So you want all the genre people and all the horror people and all that to watch it, and people that love all the gore. But you also want, it's not just a gore film. So there's other people that will enjoy this film, but I think they might be put off by that poster because they just think it's just that, and it's not just that.
That might be quite tricky as well, I imagine, these days, because everybody wants to know everything about a film, and there's a certain amount you want to give away, and then there's a certain amount you want them to experience without having seen it before. There's a lot of trailers now where everything is given away, or an interview or behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I saw a trailer the other day. I can't remember what it was called, but it was... it doesn't matter what the film was, but I saw this trailer, and it literally, the trailer was like 3 minutes long or something, and it literally showed everything in the trailer. There was like you could see there was nothing. Like everything that you saw is like, that's basically like the whole fucking movie. It was like that's like basically an hour 40 movie. That's everything. You've seen everything. Yeah. It's like when they released.
Watch them.
When they released that movie, was it called Trap? The M. Night?
Oh, the Josh Hartnett one. Yeah.
That trailer was literally the first hour and a half highlights. That trailer. That was literally all the highlights of the.
I watched that trailer and I thought, I don't need to see this movie, and I haven't seen it. So you're totally right. And that's the weird thing about that, because I don't watch a lot of trailers now for that very reason. And I thought, well, this looks interesting. And then again, like you say, it allowed me to not have to watch the movie.
Well, I watched the movie and it was fucking terrible. It was like, I don't know how somebody as talented as him could get to make that film, and the dialogue was just shocking dialogue.
I saw clips. I saw clips in another review channel on YouTube, and they were saying that some of it was. I think that's sometimes what happens when you just maybe just want to make something for your family. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. I don't want to be too
I
rude,
think that's what that must have been it, because it was. I think it was probably very rushed, and it was just shocking. It was really shocking. But then I also, when I watched that, I thought, how did they get the money how did the script get greenlit? And then I remember seeing an interview afterwards, and it said, I fund all my own movies now, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. So.
Right, that's how. Yeah, yeah, true. It's funny, isn't it? Because I remember when there wasn't a lot of comic book movies, which is going to age me, innit? But when Unbreakable came out, and I was like, this is a comic book movie, like the sort of things I love, like the darker sides of it. Now you can't move for dark edged comic book movies. Everything has to be dark, doesn't it now? But,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild how things change. I suppose going to give a little bit of credit for something as well, and I know this is a bit of a strange one, almost tangentially attached to you, is a lot of the actors that were in this film were in Black Sails as well. And I just think that is such an underrated, certainly the last episode of that was heartbreaking. And I don't know if you watched it, but what a series that was.
Yeah, I watched the clips I did see of that was great. But I mean,
really underrated.
Sean was amazing in Black Sails, and Joe Vass, I think he was in the first episode. The guy who played Chef.
I recognized him. I think he was like working on the ship. He was like he might have even been a chef. Well, not a chef. I don't think they call him chef.
Actually, I think he was. I think
like a cook. Or, I don't know what.
Yeah, I think he was a cook or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I can't imagine him on like a pirate ship with like a big white hat on one of the ships. But I mean, he did the music in a lot of the music in this film as well.
Yeah, he did the credit song. So the cool thing about that was, you see, Hazer does all my music. Hazer's amazing. He did all the Fry Barry score, and he was doing he was set to do all the music. And while I was on set, Joe said to me, "Hey Ryan, I've written some," and Joe knows what I like. He knows what, like, 80s music and stuff, and the 80s movies that I like. And he goes, I've wrote like these few songs. Don't you want to just listen to them? Maybe you can use it for the film. And in my head, I was like, like, he knows I'm using the other guy for the music, and I'm like, because then it's bad. Then I have to say to him, "Oh no, I've got somebody already, but thanks." And so I'm in my head, I'm like, why is he asking me this? He knows I've got somebody else. And then he's like, I just want you to listen to it. And, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. And we're on our break, and me, Sean, and Joe, and Donna, we all sat in Joe's car, and he put the track on, the Street Trash track, and there was another track, which is at the end of the movie. And as soon as he put it on, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, you fucking did this. You singing in this, and you recorded this. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. I'm like, this sounds like Weird Science, Breakfast Club, blah, 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 this and this and this. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. And I was like, dude, this is the credit song. And straight away, I was just like, dude, it's like so fucking good. And it's like, it has to be in the credits. So
it's a proper theme song, isn't it? Like, we don't have enough theme songs.
Super talented, super talented Joe Vass.
I love that. I loved hearing that at the end. I was like, oh, this finishes it really well. Like, this is great. So I don't want to keep you too long, because I obviously I feel like I've thrown so many questions at you. And you've been brilliant at sort of unpicking my excitement about this film, because, like I said to you before we've went on, just if I get one more person through this interview to watch the film, like, I feel like I've done a good job, because it is. I really enjoyed it, and it took me back to a time when I enjoyed films that looked like this, but it was unique enough and modern enough for me to feel like I was watching something new and exciting. So thanks for that, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure. And the other thing what we didn't mention, we also shot this film in 35mm as well, which is
of course,
which is, I never thought I would shoot a movie on 35mm. So that alone, I think it helps, just going back in time to those type of films and having that. There's nothing quite like film. So I think that gave it helped more with the type of film that it was, and gave it more of that look instead of trying to cheat like film and stuff. Like when people try and cheat like movies, they put all their scratches on and over fucking do it and shit like this.
Oh, man.
So the fact that we actually shot on 35 and it was nice. It was cool.
I'm gonna get a bit of hate for this, but I watched a film recently, and this, I don't want to criticize it because it's hard to make a film, and I really enjoyed this person's previous film. And I watched it for a podcast. What's it called? Christmas Bloody Christmas, and I'd really enjoyed VFW. I thought that was a really good film. I think this may have been slightly different budget, so maybe that's but the adverts at the beginning had that scratchy, visual effects on it, and it was kind of trying to do a bit of a grindhouse thing at the beginning, and it did take me out of it. It did take me out of it straight away, and I guess I hadn't really considered that. I'm really glad you mentioned that. I hadn't really considered that the reason this feels so authentic is because it is authentic.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't seen that film that you mentioned, but it's one of those things. I think it's because of those. Everything is just exaggerated to what it used to be, and that's why when people do that, it's like, it's. I think at the cinema it was more like you pick up on more stuff like that, from those old things back in the day. But it was, it's not the way they do it now. It's like you've got way too much scratches, like overly scratched, and then on top of that, you've got that like filter that's like a bit of a glow that's like moving the whole time, and it's just overproduced. And then there's a big, most people forget, obviously, in the early 2000s and stuff, they were still shooting movies, a lot of movies, on film, still like, a hell of a lot for many years. But it's, you just don't, I think a lot of people just think, they've been shooting digital for so long now, but it's not as I think it's not as long as people think. But obviously digital cameras have got better, and obviously there's not that many people that shoot on film these days. Obviously you get Nolan and Tarantino and all these people, but there is a group of people that's starting to shoot on film a little bit more, which is cool. And when I shot on film, I was surprised how I have shot on film like over 10 years ago for like 2 short films. But it was surprisingly not as bad as hard as I thought. Just like with any film or any project that you do, you get the right people on board to do the right jobs, and everything's fine. As long as you got the right DP that films on film, and you've got the right camera loader that fucking loads the film and works with film, then everything's fine. But we used to have the development of film on this side, and we don't have it anymore. So when we were shooting, every 3 or 4 days, we would send that footage to England, get processed, and then digitally sent back to us, which was crazy. Right. So the first week, we didn't even know what the fuck we were shooting until we got back the footage, and we were like, "Oh, okay, amazing. This is what we're doing." So it's,
I guess it's a good job. It's a good job you're not in a European country.
Yeah, so we have playback, but that playback is a digital feed through the camera, so it's not going to look like that playback. The quality is like terrible. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So yeah, that's really interesting. I guess to think that you've kind of achieved that feel and that look, but obviously all of those things that we've talked about, the music videos, the short film, the kind of building up the collaborators and trying things out, it's really exciting to see where you're going to go next after this. Are you able to talk about what's happening next, or do you want me to just shut up and talk about Street Trash? I'm quite happy to do that.
There's quite a few projects. Listen, I love all genres. I really do love all genres. And yes, I do obviously like the darker side of life of things. But yes. There is a handful of projects that I'm waiting that people are interested in. And then there's also another film that I've been shooting every now and then. And it's also with Gary as the lead. And so I've been working on that. So I think post is only going to be done at mid next year, maybe, or maybe before. but that's like completely different than Street Trash, completely different than Friar Barry. It's a very, I guess, it's a very art house, gritty, black and white movie. It's very different, but it's cool. It's and again, I love all genres, and I don't want to get stuck just on one, type of I can still do my style, but in a different way, in a different genre. And it's I don't want to get boxed in. So I don't know what's going to come up next, but the indie film I've made on the side now for over, I think I started in February, so I just shot it every now and then I literally just shot second to last day the other day, so I've only got one more day of filming, and then that movie's actually finished. So yeah, we'll see when that comes out. But again, it's very different than Street Trash, very different than Friar Barry, art house, gritty, black and white.
Nice.
You'll have to wait.
I'm interested. I'm really interested. Hopefully, you'll come back on channel and we'll be able to chat about your upcoming films. That'd be brilliant. You've got an open invite. I know just for people who subscribe to the channel and know kind of people I work with, just wanted to kind of dedicate this to our friend Dave Oliver at Savage Zombie Reviews, who jokingly, as you know, absolutely hated the first Street Trash. But I was saying to you earlier on, it would have been fun. It would have been lovely actually for him to have seen this film. So I just wanted to dedicate this interview to Dave. And also to say a big thank you to you for kind of being so open to me asking loads of questions before we actually had this interview, and just during the interview being so honest about the process and what you've done. It's easy for me to interview people when I love the films. So, but thanks for making it. Thanks for making it such a fun time as well.
It's a pleasure, man. It's always nice to speak to people in general about filmmaking. It never gets boring, and somebody that's watched the film and enjoyed it. Again, it's always interesting to hear what they think or what they saw, because everybody can watch a film and pick up on very numerous and different things of the movie, and so it's always nice to see what people liked, what people didn't like. And again, it's one of those things where there's a lot of people that have reached out to me and love this movie. There's a lot of original fans of the original that love it and also have reached out to me, and it's one of those, like, I make films because this is something that I'm passionate about and that I love. And then I also love my own films in the sense of it's not just my work. It's it's everybody's work that's in that frame. And I admire all those people that I work with, and that's why I work with them. So, I'm such a big fan of Sean Cameron Michaels, and I'm a big fan of Hazer, who did the music. So it's all these things together. I'm like, oh, it's so fucking cool that I've got this person doing it, and it's awesome. So we're all like a little, we're all like a big little family, all working together and just doing cool things. And I think looking at Friar Barry and looking at Street Trash, I think it's the type of film that when people watch it, I think they can see that we had a good time making this film. We had a good laugh making this film, and I think that definitely comes across on screen, I think.
Totally, man. Totally. That's why we all gravitate to things like, I don't know, MASH, or like I said, the Dirty Dozen, or whatever. It's the idea of a collective of people who you want to be part of that group. So yeah, man, mission accomplished on that one. So thanks so much, Ryan.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.